to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Tuesday, February 13th. Josh, I'm not in New York City. I don't know if you're aware of that.
For those who can't see the video, it's quite obvious.
I took Liz and Lewis down to St. Thomas, one of the U.S. Virgin Islands. You don't need a passport. Didn't have to get a baby passport. And timing could not have been better. It's like insane blizzard in New York today. Biggest snow in like 3 years. And instead, I am sitting with beautiful blue ocean water behind me.
So, Charlie, I've got to ask, was this a planned vacation, or have you decided just to flee the continental United States after Sunday afternoon?
I had a midlife crisis, and I've actually decided that I'm going to live down here now, and I'm going to shut myself off from all of the internet, and this is the last time you're ever going to see me on this podcast.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, it was tough, Josh.
Here's the real question. Did you uninstall the gambling apps?
No, I actually won money on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Through a combination of player props and some hedges and things. So, I would rather have 1-0. I would have rather lost all my money and had the 49ers actually take it down. Why can't they just score one touchdown in the game? I mean, I know they got the one on the stupidest play of all time that somehow worked out, but it was just an incredibly frustrating game to watch because I thought we were like clearly the much better team, and just somehow we just couldn't finish the job. Brutal.
Well, man, it was so weird because in the first quarter, it was an excellent combination of running the ball and Brock Purdy like throwing at just like such strategic times. It was so good. And then like we get halfway through the second quarter and it's like, oh yeah, C-Mac? Yeah, who's that guy? Like never heard of him. And you just stopped running the ball for like a quarter and a half. And it wasn't until the fourth quarter that you're like, oh, we should probably run the ball again. Like that was working kind of well. It was weird. It was a weird game all around.
Very weird game. I mean, ultimately it was a great game. Most watched Super Bowl in history. I just saw the numbers come through. I thought Usher was awesome. We got all the guest appearances that you would want. When Ludacris came out, the party that we hosted, it was going crazy. I mean, people were going wild for Ludacris. And what a spectacle the whole thing is. I watch that, the whole broadcast and just kind of the pomp and circumstance of it all. And it makes you like dream about how it could look in disc golf in the future. Like as amazing as DGN is with the money that they have and the size of the sport where it is, it's just like you can see how much greater it can be. I mean, they had something like 175 cameras this year at the Super Bowl. They put cameras in the goalposts. I don't even ever think they used them because the ball never hit the goalpost, or it was never interesting on these field goals. So, but that's the kind of stuff they do. They probably spent more than DGN's annual budget on putting cameras in the goalposts, only to never use them, which I just think is awesome.
Well, and the big difference, right? DGN pays a company to host their platform, right? And to be the platform and to stream this media. Media companies pay the NFL for the rights to stream their games.
That's right.
That's the difference.
It turns out when you can get like 60% of Americans to watch, that you can really make some money as a sports league.
Yep. Yeah. That's an easy goal, right? That's it. That's their goal.
5-year
60%
plan
of Americans
for disc golf. Well, we got a good one today. Jeff Spring is going to join us, CEO, of course, of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We always have him on this time of year to talk about the year ahead. And so we will welcome him in and discuss the 2024 tour, what happened in 2023, and just kind of catch up on where things stand with the tour in somewhat of a transitional year, dropping the silver and kind of expanding their DGN platform, getting away from the terrible service that is Vimeo. And maybe we will all not wish we could watch on YouTube every round this year. Maybe. I'm certainly not counting on that, but maybe. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, Jeff Spring joins us for a long interview here on The Upshot.
Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the US, employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality US materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
Joining us now on the Upshot is the CEO of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, as well as the Tour Director, Jeff Spring. Jeff, always great to have you on. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Charlie, and good to see you, Josh. Looking forward to chatting and catching up here.
Well, we are a week and a half from the sort of unofficial start of the season, if you will, and about 2.5 weeks until the opening tournament on the 2024 Tour. I guess I would just like to start with kind of an assessment of where you feel like things stand with the Pro Tour. It was kind of there's been some good and some rocky moments the last 12 months. And I think I'd just love to hear how you're feeling about where things are headed in 2024.
Overall, I'm feeling great. I know that we're a burgeoning sports league, and being in that world of emerging sports means there's going to be a host of challenges. So, we expect challenges from a variety of different topics throughout the growth of the business. So there were certainly challenges last year, and we expect more this year and in the future. But that doesn't mean that we don't feel great about where the tour is at, where the stage being built for professional disc golfers is at, which is really our mission. And what we're trying to deliver is just up that stage, whether it's on site or online. Make it more viable for more pro players to chase their dreams on the Pro Tour and just, kind of put that out, grow fans and grow viewers. So we feel like we had a successful year last year in doing that, despite, a host of challenges. And like I said, I'm sure there'll be more. But the community is fantastic to work in. The disc golf industry is fantastic to work in, and we're feeling great about the future.
So one of the big changes for fans this year who are following along with the tour is going to be this migration to a new platform for Disc Golf Network, which comes with a host of new things. You're going to be able to pause and rewind a live stream, 60 frames per second, kind of like coming into the modern video streaming era. Moving away from the Vimeo platform that you've been on for the last few years and migrating to this new kind of built out INSYS platform. Along with that, today announcing a new live media plan with some changes to kind of the structure of subscriptions and a new high tier DGN Pro that gets you access to some events that otherwise you wouldn't be able to watch if you were just on the sort of standard plan from years past. So I guess, in total, let's start with the Vimeo piece. It was clear that there were some issues the last 2 years with the platform. How did you pick the new platform, and what do you see as kind of the primary advantages of making this change?
Yeah, I'll start there. Primary advantages. We feel like we're upgrading the general technical structure of the platform. So 60 frames per second, live DVR are core elements. There's going to be quality upgrades. Now, I feel like that was something we've been striving for in development with Vimeo, our old partner. And, we really prioritized it over the last, 18 months. So that led us to this partnership with INSYS and AWS. And really, AWS is a big partner in this. They're providing more guidance and services behind the scenes. And they gave us some migration assistance funding in order to get us over. So like AWS is a big company, a big tech company in the background of a lot of sports, or the foreground. You saw them featured in the Super Bowl just last weekend. So We feel that they believe in the trajectory of the disc golf network and the trajectory of the sport of disc golf. And they really delivered a great partner to us, which is Insys, who's more of a custom developer. We felt like we were had a set of, features and tools that were kind of static before. And we're really trying to invest in pushing the quality standard and basically the experience in app, higher and higher. So this is a first step. I'll just tell our subscribers, we're going to keep working. We can continue to bring features on in the next few years, and we're a little bit more mobile and able to advance that tech as new options and opportunities become available. Where, as in the past, we were a little bit more subject to what our provider was doing. So we're helping drive the features that we want and we need, and that we hear our customers saying that they want to. So, that's that's kind of, our goal is that we're going to be able to be more flexible. We're going to be able to adapt. Technology is a fast changing industry. So, we're just hoping to keep up as we, continue to invest in the product that, a lot of fans have really adopted, and we get a lot of positive feedback on, especially providing and driving a lot of live coverage.
All right, Josh, I know you want to ask questions. Last thing here, just to stay on this point, DGN Standard, DGN Pro, why would someone, besides wanting to watch the two events, which are the European Open and USDGC, they're only available to DGN Pro subscribers, why would anybody choose other months to get that package and pay more?
Yeah, there's a host of other benefits for becoming a DGN Pro subscriber. First of all, you're always going to get extra content for every single round. Our Tournament Central post game is part of a DGN Pro subscription now. You're also going to get second streams. So when we do feature holes, whether it's a 4-box or actually a switch and commentated stream, that'll be available for DGN Pro. We're also going to be playing around with bringing in some alternate commentary. I think everybody's familiar with Monday Night Football's second stream, the Manning Cast, and we expect to deliver some similar second streams with a little bit different take, a little different flavor of commentary. There, you also have ad-free. Yeah,
who's going to be on the second stream?
That announcement will be coming soon, but I think it will be more than one. But you'll see it coming out in the near future. I know of the one team that's locked in, a second team that's I don't want to spoil an announcement that our comms team's looking forward to putting out. So I'm not going to drop that here, but there will be another flavor. It's not going to be the Manning brothers. It will be disc golf related. But hopefully we'll get on maybe some disc golf adjacent personalities as well. We're looking forward to trying that out. So that will be a pro feature. We'll also have, this is a new technology for us, so we're wading into these waters, but we're going to be able to deliver an ad-free stream for the first round for pro subscribers of, live content. So if it's round one and you're a DGN Pro subscriber, you can tag into the ad-free stream if you want to. I know actually a lot of disc golfers do like to see the new commercials and products that are in the industry. So, that'll be, their option there. But, those are some of the core benefits. You also have, 3, devices and concurrent streams. So, DGN Standard will basically return at the same price with upgraded features. And that will be 2 devices and 2 concurrent streams. Whereas you get the Extra Pro, it's mostly because you have potentially 3 streams to watch at once. Be some events like that. So, it will be continuous, playback on 3 devices. So there's going to be, more coming, obviously there's a little bit of a content advantage, and we'll even push some, release content, some, VOD non-competition content to pro and then to standard. But, I think that the core package of those 5 elements plus a little bit of content, is going to be compelling. And really, we've heard from fans, especially, our top tier, top echelon fans that, they're looking for more features, more exclusivity. They want to support the channel and support the tour and support the brand. So, we're waiting in, and, we're looking forward to see how it goes.
while we're on the topic, with your new streaming service, do you pay based on server capacity?
That's baked in, but
Okay.
you know, like kind of our yearly cost does include some numbers there, and so there's
Okay.
like overages, and you know, you can that's certainly baked in. We do not to get too technical for the audience, but we do some projections on that preseason and kind of map it out with our partners, and hopefully don't go over, but you know, we'll see. You know, we don't actually know necessarily how much bandwidth, you know, some of the upgraded functionalities, some of the live DVR, the playback ability, you know, what that's going to do to the overall data usage. So we'll find out, and I think we're pretty safe.
So that kind of leads me to my question then. If you've got projections, what is your current subscriber count, and what kind of projections did you do when you went into this agreement in terms of what you're hoping to have for concurrent viewers or subscribers?
Yeah, you know, we don't have any real hard numbers, but you know, AWS and Insys and the Disc Golf Network as a team do want to see growth. So, you know, we want to move towards 100,000 subscribers in the next, you know, few years. That's certainly a longer term goal. And, you know, in terms of, you know, growth this year, we've been growing at kind of significant clips, I would say. Like last year, we saw about almost 50% growth. And, you know, we expect to be somewhere around there this year. It's not going to be, you're not going to be doubling or tripling, which we've done in the past. You know, we've grown at 200% and, you know, 70%. And, I think that, you know, seeing 50% last year is a really encouraging sign, because we know that there are sectors in the industry that didn't see that level of growth, but to see, the subscription continue to grow, you know, we're excited. In terms of, you know, our concurrent, you know, subscriber count right now, bobbing around 50. You know, I think we're migrating everyone over, and we're getting everybody from, you can subscribe on iOS, Android, you can subscribe, on Roku, and, you know, we're pulling those numbers in, to the total that, you know, subscribe through, DGN on the web. And, you know, in terms of the DGN Pro, we don't really have a firm goal on that. We're just excited to see, you know, what percentage of our subscribers decide to take us up on that one. But, you know, it's really exciting because you can upgrade 1 month and downgrade the next, you know, so the functionality that they've built in, I feel is really elegant and will work well, and will, you know, let subscribers, you know, choose on a monthly basis if they see fit, or to get a bigger discount, you know, grab the yearly. So, yeah, that's kind of, we don't have those hard goals, Josh, on the tiers per se, but, you know, we're seeing continued growth, and, you know, I think that's hopefully just going to continue, and, our partners are going to help us, you know, kind of find new segments of audience.
Obviously, the DGN has been a really core revenue stream, and it has been going really well. How have things been going on the ground? Because obviously there's some tentpole events that have done amazing, like Worlds this year, obviously up at Smugs. You were running the show there. It was unbelievable. It was packed with people. I mean, you know, I've never seen so many people like at a disc golf tournament, probably.
Yeah.
And so how are things going on the standard DGPT event side? Because it feels anecdotally that, like, after having this huge boom right after COVID, things have kind of like been a little bit more chilled, or maybe not growing as much, or maybe flat. And some events seem to like not have very many spectators at all. Like, how are things on that front?
Well, you know, this year we've strategically moved to just Disc Golf Pro Tour events. We don't have silver events anymore. And we're being thoughtful about our market. But I would say overall, last year we did see growth in spectators. I think we were more around the 25% range, you know, so the viewers at home outpaced the growth percentages of the viewers on site. And certainly for some events, you know, we saw turnout be like, you know, just slightly higher or about flat. But overall, you know, that growth continues. And, you know, I think it's a market to market, you know, basis, you know, what's happening in the Portland, California, Nashville, Southeast areas, Minneapolis. The Preserve grew, and that was already a really big event. So, we're kind of crowdsourcing it from our events and seeing what works in terms of pricing structure for each market, kind of grassroots or regional marketing. But we're kind of in that phase. I don't think it's going to happen automatically. And, we want to think about how many events we're running in certain regions. So I think that what we saw is growth overall, but people maybe spread out. We did more events than we've ever done before last year. And I think like if you were in the Midwest, you're like, I'm going to go to 2 of them, but there's 4 events that are trying to share that audience. So I think that the growth continues and that our strategy of really focusing on the events that are going to have very strong fields. We know that, our most important stakeholder and our core asset and the thing that we value the most and work for the most is the pro player, right? And so we want to put those players on that stage, on this pedestal and really have that strong field. If there's 1 or 2 names, it's maybe not quite as motivating. People want to come and see we're so blessed with a huge group of personalities that engage with audiences that are compelling to fans to follow and that just have a great connection with the base of the sport. And when, a strong field shows up, people come out and, that's kind of the thought process behind the structure and kind of what we see as the growth. But we're projecting, 20-25% growth in overall, spectators coming out to events. And from what I'm seeing in early ticket sales, that's kind of how we're pacing too. I don't think, I think that maybe the theme is that the pandemic days of expecting insane growth or, doubling, tripling, is gone. And for us, we haven't seen necessarily a plateau per se. I think that there's more fans. You don't have to play disc golf to be a fan of disc golf. A lot of us don't play football, but millions, billions maybe watch the Super Bowl. We're building a viewership and a fan base that transcends just maybe playing or competing to just real fans and spectators. And I think that growth is going to continue. You don't have to necessarily go and buy products in the market to be a fan and watch. So yeah, it's been interesting because I know that, we always, are interested when we talk about the industry trends and where things are going. I think that, we're seeing a return to before the pandemic, which is probably 15 to 25% growth across the sector of the industry, depending on what one it was. And I have a strong belief that that's what we're going to see kind of click in this year, if that makes sense, for all sectors is, okay, we had a lot of people. We plateaued, maybe lost some, maybe started gaining some more back. But I believe 15 to 25%, depending on what type of product you're offering is going to be the norm. And until we have another maybe motivating event or, we're able to transcend, maybe, national, international media and push it in front of, millions and millions more people. And, that's certainly one of our goals. But, yeah, in terms of on-site, I think that we're really just trying to think about the experience fans are having and improve it. And we think if we improve it and we market that experience, of course, word of mouth has always driven us, but now I don't know that we can rely on word of mouth as much because we may have always want people to bring a friend, but at the end of the day, I think we got to take some responsibility for being smart and tactful and grassroots and national marketing. And that's kind of what our goal is for this year.
Just a quick follow-up. I think when we had you on around this time last year, we asked you about shrinking the tour a little bit. Maybe there's too many events. Josh and I certainly discussed that many times over the last few seasons, that it just sometimes when we have 4 or 5 weekends in a row with a tournament, it just feels like way too much. Clearly the tour has reduced in size. I mean, part of that is just getting rid of the silvers, but it's just a more spread out schedule this year. Do you feel like you changed your tune? Because last year you said you didn't think there were too many, but now we've seen a pretty significant shift in the size of the sort of, televised disc golf tournaments.
Yeah, bring up the tape, Charlie. I don't remember that, but no, just kidding. I would say this. It's a little bit more of a strategic shift than an overall reduction in size. We are hosting more elite series events that are just now we want DGPT events to be DGPT events, right? And that's what they are, whether they're in Europe or in the US. So, last year, I think we had 15 of those, and now we have 20 of those plus the majors. So I think the shift we felt in the US, we had enough DGPT caliber events to let go of silver events, right? And so we will kind of grow back. But at this point in time, we had to make that shift at some time. And we also announced 8 qualifying events where, we don't know. I think overall, the whole calculus here is bringing the entire production, 3 live days of coverage, our entire team for a silver level event. Is that wise? And I think what we said is let's push some up and then really create the next farm system for events and players in the qualifying series that will allow us to get an event really ready, because we have got a lot of great silver events that did a great job. But, at a certain point, I think you got to listen to the players too. Even if they can pick and choose their schedule and they have a lot of drops, a lot of players feel pressure to play those events. So just taking them off the board, I think helps a little bit as well. And so it's multifaceted. It's certainly the way we did it, we needed to make a change. It felt structurally, just to maximize, the return of eyeballs and people on the ground when we do roll out the big tent. And I think that symbiosis with player, feedback works perfectly, because like we just talked about, people are going to come out when you have that strong field. And if we put an event out every single week, there's going to be weeks where that field is maybe a little lackluster to drive eyes or to drive travel to the event. And we don't want to flood certain markets either. So it all worked together to, kind of come out this way. And I think the result is slightly fewer, but adding on the events, that are DGPT events in Europe, it kind of buffers the transition a little bit. And, if you add in European silver events and Q series events, we're really at the same number, different approach, different emphasis, but certainly agree that, the postulation on, hey, are we going to need to make a change? Do we need to structurally reduce the times that we roll out that Big Ten? We definitely would agree with that.
I wanted to ask about the Q series in terms, obviously there's not going to be coverage and live coverage in that same sense of like the silver events, but what exactly were some of the criteria required to be a Q series? Are there things like minimum payouts? How involved is the DGPT in terms of like the tournament organization side, that kind of that back end administration?
Yeah, we've simplified a lot of this. So there's not a huge level of standard. We're really basing it on PDGA A-tier standards. Now, to become an A-tier, you have to go through a long process, actually. So, I would encourage, if you're like, hey, I'm a burgeoning tournament director. I have a lot of support in the community. I run a great event. Really work to become an A-tier. And that's your pipeline to become a Q series event. And then you prove your worth there, you prove your chops, and you can, get onto that Q series and we can assess it. Really, we're trying to get events. I would say less like Silver Series, more like USDGC qualifiers, where, we're going to let them do their thing. We are going to, help promote, help, get players to go, and also just connect with media. We're going to be involved in planning and organization, but in terms of, ticketing, media, purse, that's all on them, and that's kind of more back to the roots of how events, kind of came up. If you are a great event and you're putting, a lot of money out there, don't just try to hit a number that we're providing, do what's in your means. And if you get a lot of support from the community or from the disc golf industry, it's going to naturally bubble up. Also, if you have a great course, we're going to watch the fields that go to these events. Hey, because if you are a tour card holder and you're pretty safe with your tour card, there's not necessarily motivation to go to these other than you like the course, you like the tournament, there's a good purse. And so, that'll be indicative of what events we want to continue to elevate. And I think that this is more like the natural selection type process. And yeah, not a ton of requirements other than pretty high standards to become an A tier. You have to have 3 years of being a B tier. And you have to be a seasoned tournament crew. So a lot of that work does itself, to get there. And then we take it to the next level based on results.
Have you considered at all? This question comes from the Ultiworld Disc Golf Discord. Have you considered trying to have sort of in-house tournament directors? In some ways, I guess you do. Like that is you in a way. But like people who you could have run a tournament wherever you want. Like let's say you want to have a tournament in Southern California in Los Angeles or something. That you could have somebody go there, even if you didn't have a tournament in place or a tournament director in place that you felt really good about. Whether you look at this from a DGPT side or a major side, is this something that you're thinking about for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Conceptually, we do have that. And, as the tour grows, we've got our staff and everybody wears a couple hats. And we want to continue to grow our team and allow people to focus on, kind of core elements of their job. But, Phil Delaunay is our assistant tour director. Brian Cole is the director of operations and logistics. Ty Tannett is our partnership and retail director. And Sean Jack is our VP of partnerships, and they all have hands in running events. So Phil has been integral with the Paul Macbeth Foundation and Jeff Corns, the TD there, in kind of shepherding the chess.com event. And we've got Ty who runs the Des Moines Challenge. We got Sean who runs the OTB Open with Sean Mercy, and they do that separately from the tour. But we have obviously a tight working relationship. And then, Brian Cole is the TD of the Portland Open. I'm the TD of the Green Mountain Championship, and our team TD is the Tour Championship. So there's a bunch of events that we, in-house, we have tournament directors. We try not to put the load too much on, one person, but it's really our full team behind the scenes that is executing those events. And then, we do have some teams that have run multiple events on the tour as well. The Ledgestone team has run, D-Glow and, Ledgestone. And, I think that, the TDs that we actually have back this year all have like vast history and experience on the tour. So that's kind of the shape of things right now. If we wanted to say, okay, hey, we're going to put a tournament in a new city, and we would likely, have our hands on it, whether we're the TD and the event team. What we do, for instance, in Portland, is we have a great relationship with Stumptown Disc Golf Club. And even though, we are the TD, Brian's the TD, and we're running it with Disc Golf Pro Tour, backing and resources and planning and development, the folks in the local community are integral, so wherever you go, we would only go somewhere if there's like a strong local organizing committee, even if they're not the TD or the event owner per se. So as we expand, I do expect us to, kind of continue to, if we're putting something new in, make sure that there's a great local organizing committee, and then have that discussion. Is this going to be, a lot of times with new events and where we want to go with investment in events, we want to be able to just invest in that event and see it grow, maybe more rapidly than a local organizing committee that's, made up of, volunteers and local community members. And so I think that we still have a couple systems that work really well, and we're not going to axe any of them. But, I certainly think that we can go and say, hey, this is a DGPT run event, owned and operated event, but we're always going to be partnering with the local community. The last couple of years in Tucson, Jeremy Herr has a great community. We were running the All-Star event, but, that group of volunteers from the club was great. They really helped with everything. And we wanted to benefit the community when we come into town. So, given great, packs and what we do, everything we can for volunteers, tickets, and then usually leaving equipment, courses like upgraded, and then of course invigorating the community. When the players come to town, people get excited, and a lot of new fans come out, and those turn into disc golfers. So I think event and venue development is on my radar. As I try to take off maybe some other hats and focus on the future. So
we have the recent announcement that I think is one of the big news of moving away from UDisc as the scorekeeping platform for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. UDisc Live being migrated over, and the statistics are going to be a part under the PDGA Live events. Can you talk a little bit about the decision there to move away from UDisc, and have you seen what this new product from the PDGA Live is going to look like yet?
Yes. Feel great about the new product. The decision, well, I'll just start by saying, it's been a wonderful relationship. Love the UDisc guys, love the UDisc app and product, intend, and we're very likely to continue working on the growth of disc golf in the future, continue as partners. Certainly hope so. Overall, there was some tides that were pulling us apart. We really feel as a tour, it's important to be able to, continue to develop and socialize scores and stats, and be able to create new products with scores and stats. And I think that UDisc has such a great app and product that their main focus is that, and so over the years, it's been kind of a push and pull of like, here's what we'd like to see. Of course, great upgrades and development from UDisc, all the time. But in terms of, where we wanted to take some of the products and some of the features, it's just hard. There's an opportunity cost for UDisc to focus a lot of development on live stats and scoring. And there's certainly an incentive for us to, be able to control that trajectory and control the use of that a little bit more. So I think that those forces just, kind of pulling us apart is number one. And number two, the PDGA has been working on a product for their membership for, a while, I believe. We became aware of it and, at the second half of last year of where they're at with it, because they said, hey, listen, we want to, start using this at our majors, because they want it to trickle down to membership as a benefit eventually. And so that kind of created a little bit of a conflict that we had to work through, and you saw the announcement and the results of that. But, I believe that, the UDisc really wanted the product to be continuous. So to continue to have the PDGA majors, to continue to have all DGPT events. So at the end of the day, we were actually interested in bringing back DGPT on UDisc. And we're working towards that, and we're very close to doing that. But, I think that having everything in one place is what we heard UDisc needed. And that wasn't possible because of the PDGA's development on where they want to take their majors. So it just kind of created a situation where when you look at those things pulling us apart, and the kind of the facts on the ground, it didn't seem like there was really a path to continuing that was viable. And then after seeing and testing, and we actually had our third party developer, check everything, before we even started considering moving more than just the majors over. Of course, we wanted to verify that this would work for DGN, because it informs some of the back end statistics and some of the back end graphic displays on our broadcast. So it was really important that, before we even said, okay, we can use this product for PDGA majors, that we certified and verified that it was developed. Any further development was on track, which is all true. And looked great, and so I said, hey, this is a great viable system. So we can use this for majors. And then, the question is whether it would be viable to have DGPT on UDisc and majors on PDGA Live. And it didn't seem like that was a viable option when, discussions kind of concluded. And so we felt very comfortable moving. But at the same time, I think that the UDisc product and development history is tied to the tour. Our brands are tied together in a lot of ways. we want to continue to have, brand affiliation and work together to grow the sport. But, we're comfortable with the move. We think that it'll be a bit of time before we, put a product out that is as great as what UDisc has been able to do over 8 years of development. But we certainly don't think fans will be disappointed. We think that they'll be able to access, PDGA Live's been going on for years and it's supporting 10,000 events. And basically what they had to do is take hole by hole and add shot by shot. And that's something that they worked on, like I said, for their majors. And I think they've done really well, and excited to, try it out. And then also, important now that, we have commercial rights, basically, to commercialize, an API. And huge part of this is Statmando too, feeling comfortable. Like they've been, our Elias Sports Bureau of the Disc Golf Pro Tour in a lot of ways. We had our own, media team doing a lot of research, and then Statmando said, hey, we can help you out here. And get even deeper. And they've done that. They've done amazing things. Basically, all the research packets and preparation for our live broadcasts are driven through their development. So we're very comfortable and very familiar with Statmando. And knowing that they're going to lead the development of a lot of these things in the future after being acquired by the PDGA is really great to know, and really a positive that we lean on in this transition. Sorry about that.
Charlie, if I could, I've got one follow-up real quick to that. UDisc relies on an army of volunteers to do stat collection, because, you have to have a volunteer following every card, entering in distance on putts, fairway or rough, and all those statistics. While I assume that those volunteers will still be accessible, who will be taking the initiative to collect, organize, and, deploy said volunteers to do stat keeping now on the PDGA side?
Well, we did that. So I know that it seems, since all of our scores and stats were on UDisc Live, like they were UDisc, derived, but, we are the organization on the ground, the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So we have been working with our LOCs to recruit volunteers. One of the big recruitment points is statisticians, like walking scorers, right? And so, with all of our LOCs, it's just return, like every year, basically we try to train more people. We try to recruit more people. We try to get those return, volunteers. So, I know a lot of, I've gone to these events for 6-7 years in some cases. And so I know a lot of the scorers, they've come back year over year. I know them personally. I know all of them at the GMC because they want to come back and score. And so these are people that the Disc Golf Pro Tour recruited. We train on the ground, although UDisc has been a great partner in helping provide training resources. But I would say, in terms of walking scores, what we're doing is collecting Disc Golf Pro Tour live scores and stats. If they're going to be displayed on discgolfprotour.com, which is it was an important element in this too, So, but we also, now that we have an API, if you look at any other professional sport, you can see their scores and standings on CBS Sports, Bleacher Report, ESPN, a host of different platforms. So, I don't think that we want the Disc Golf Pro Tour, .com. It's going to be DGPT website that's hosting, our scores and stats, as well as PDGA Live will have scores and stats. But I don't think that we want to limit it to our ecosphere. I think we want to broaden it. We want it to be listed on ESPN. We want it to be listed on CBS Sports. And we weren't able to do that without a live API. So the development of that is going to allow us to just kind of put disc golf reporting, scores and statistics everywhere. And I think that that's really important at this moment in time for the growth of the sport too, is just, going on to one of those platforms and seeing disc golf. Now, that's not a shoo-in. We're working on that with partners. I think that you develop those relationships so you can distribute, your content and information, and scores and stats is one of them. So, that said, we're really comfortable. Those volunteers are really part of the LOCs and the communities that, I was talking about before. And I don't think that there'll be any change. Certainly we want to, train everyone well. There'll be some changes to the entry. There'll be some changes to, what we're able to collect. I know that, one thing that we're going to be able to do, after doing some recent testing. Actually, just yesterday, I was able to get in and see, the final entry version, that the PDGA, is delivering. And, we're going to be able to be more accurate on putts. Like, for instance, we just did, bullseye 11 to 22 feet, 22 to 33 is just a range. So when you're looking at the stats, you're always seeing the same numbers, right? It was 5 feet or I think 16 feet, right? And it was just the middle number. Now it's going to be, precise. It's going to, you can move it to the exact distance. Of course, we've got a good relationship with Bushnell and rangefinders, and that can go back all the way to the tee if we wanted to. So I think that there's going to be, this next level of refined, distance collection. We're looking to deploy that. Got to do training. Make sure that it's accurate. But we're looking forward to adding a level of granularity there.
Huge. I don't know why you just never added that. But anyway, are you feeling confident about rolling out 2 huge new technical projects in like a week? Because you're not only releasing this new streaming platform and having to do the stress test of having everybody hit the servers at the same time, but you're also got graphics that are driven by this new stat system, the PDGA Live.com. We know that works, but like, how is it going to handle the load of Pro Tour level events and the traffic that comes with that? Like, that's a pretty stressful situation for an organization, I would think.
Yeah, it is. It's been a lot. I just want to thank our team, Baker Helton, our VP of Administration, Charles McCracken, Director of Comms, Zach Kukendall, he's our Director of Marketing, their teams, like our ops team that I mentioned before, Ty, Sean, I'm leaving people out, but everybody's been working really hard since like last fall on making sure that, these projects are on track, that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that they roll out successfully and smoothly. It's tech, it's live TV, it's live sports. So, you gotta believe that something's going to go wrong. But I feel as confident as I can. I feel like with the results that I'm seeing. So I'm comfortable and confident, and I believe that there'll probably be some issues. We've had a history of, troubleshooting, obviously. And I think that if you watch any sports broadcast now, I'm always seeing camera moves. I even see like drops of streams or you have to reload, and it's just kind of part of the industry, even at the top tier level. Obviously we're not there, but, you can expect a few more issues, but, we're working really hard to reduce that stuff as much as possible. This transition is going to, we're going to have to troubleshoot some things, I'm sure. And so that said, AWS, is providing our server capacity, and that's an upgrade. So I don't anticipate any server issues with the stream, any capacity issues there. We have worked really hard with Insys to get the final product ready. The tiers are complex, and the functionality that they've delivered is elegant, and it's working in all testing in terms of having people come out and be able to subscribe to Pro and upgrade and downgrade. And I know that people will start doing that now, really. And we're putting this out today, and I couldn't feel better. I think that it's going to be an upgrade. And in terms of the PDGA and StatMando and live scores and stats, I do have a lot of confidence. They've budgeted in extra capacity, and we've had that discussion, and I feel as good as I could about that too, knowing that they're doing such a high. I think they did like 90 something events last weekend. Now that's not necessarily the same load of traffic as maybe 250,000 people coming on to watch scores and stats or keep up with the tour. But that's budgeted for. So, I think that we expect it to hold up, but things do happen in live sports and technology. And I think the main thing I would say is that on both cases, we feel like we have better growth trajectory. We feel like we have more control of development. And when we put in resources, we're going to be able to improve. And, that customizability and control is something that's really important. So even if we hit, kind of one step back moments, I believe we're just going to be able to take 2 steps forward after that. So, can't promise a clean sheet on the rollout here, but I do feel confident that the core products are solid. We'll be able to troubleshoot any issues, that they'll improve over time, and that, we'll be able to see leaps and bounds of growth because of these changes in the years to come.
One more note on this. Who owns the data for these scores and stats? Does the PDGA own the data? Does the Pro Tour own the data? Does it depend on the event? Because I know that was something that you've already been talking about, having a live API. There were mentions of gambling potential in the future. That's obviously a big revenue stream for leagues these days. So UDisc owned all this data in the past. Who owns it now?
Well, we own all of the Disc Golf Pro Tour data. And the PDGA will own the data for their events. Like, we don't need to own, the 10,000 events that they run on their platform. We own ours, and we own ours, and we have commercial rights to utilize and distribute, the data, similar to the media agreement that we have with the PDGA. I would say it's like a 1-to-1 like that. So yeah, we're going to be overseeing that. And regardless, like even with, our past, kind of scores and stats and work with UDisc, we have we have ownership. We have an unlimited, perpetual, irrevocable license to use our scores and stats in any way, shape, or form that we feel, we want to. So, that's not a real issue, as long as those levers are in place, right? But no, we have ownership of our scores and stats data.
You now have the Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe, the unified 2024 European Tour. Tell us a little bit about what the goals or vision for European disc golf are vis-a-vis the Disc Golf Pro Tour and what you're hoping to accomplish there.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a great development over the last 6 months. Juha and Mikko from EPT are now part of the leadership team in Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe, as well as Leif Aspen, who's the TD of Krokel and on the board of PDGA Europe. So the team over there is all stars, and excited to have the 5 DGPT events. We kind of left it in their hands on, adding silver events. And I think that they made a great choice and conducted that process well. And, I think that the fact that we have European silvers, those will not be part of the World Point Series. But, it's a way to let Europe do what we did in the US and continue to expand, and then get those events ready. And I see a similar transition happening where when they're ready, those events will become, a little bit more DGPT events. We may have 8 eventually or something like that. And then some qualifiers for their European tour. We want Europeans, the best European golfers, to be able to play and win their own European tour. But then if you bubble to the top and you say, oh, I'm actually doing great in the World Series, I'm getting some points in the world standings. All right, I'm encouraged, and now I can travel the world playing disc golf at the top level. And that's part of the vision that you're asking about, Josh, is then the next step is that Europe is just one part of the expansion that we see in the future, which is more international events. You saw the Down Under Tour. We're having some chats with people in New Zealand. You've seen the Australian Open in the past be a major. You've seen the Japan Open. We've got a lot of incoming from South America. So what we want to be able to do is put, a DGPT event on the map. And now this World Point Standings, the international events are going to be able to say, maybe we'll have 12, in the coming years, but we're going to count 4 of them, towards the World Point Standings. So, it will encourage our best pros, I think, to say, yeah, I want to go to Colombia and play a DGPT event. I don't have to use it. I could throw it out. And if you're an international competitor or European competitor, you play in the future 8 DGPT events, but you're going to take your top 4. It's a way to moderate the strength of field a little bit and not overweight development while making it matter. I think no matter what, right now, how it looks is the strongest fields, the biggest purses, the best events, the biggest crowds that we've seen, are consistently in the US. And so you have to come to the US and play these events and play against these fields in order to make the playoffs, in order to make the Tour Championship for sure. However, you can make dents, internationally. And if you're a New Zealand player or a South American player, Australian player, Japanese player, and we come and you play against a strong field, it could encourage you to take that next step in your disc golf career. But I think Europe is special because we know that the disc golf market there is right on the heels in growing in kind to what the US market is. And so I think it will be a while before there would be another continental series, that is its own point series as well. So, there will be DGPT Europe point standings that are separate from DGPT world point standings. And the world point standings are, what we've used in the past to qualify for the Tour Championship and crown our Tour champion at the end of the year.
So, I wanted to touch on one other thing, looking back at last year, it was obviously so much tumult with the lawsuits, with Natalie Ryan and, kind of the whole United Series thing. And now we come into this year, the PDGA announces right before Christmas that they're basically dropping the piece of their policy, their gender policy that essentially outlawed most trans women from competing in FPO. So the Pro Tour, obviously is following the PDGA policy, but also put in this new sort of second step, which is that you have to have undergone gender affirming surgery. Why did you choose that? And I guess, do you have general comments on this last 12 months and whether you think maybe the Tour and or the PDGA should have taken a different approach to this topic?
Yeah, I think generally the PDGA is the governing body of the sport, and we recognize them as the regulatory authority, even contractually, per our 5-year agreement as the official Pro Tour of the PDGA, to make policy decisions like this. So we are bound to follow, their policy decisions. That said, I think, we've talked about this before. We feel competitive fairness is the core issue. And, based on the PDGA's policy, we've intended and will continue to intend to enforce, their policy, with competitive fairness in mind. And, we think that obviously there's a lot of, live litigation throughout states. We found that out last year. And it's a developing area. So, to answer your first question, there's always been C1, C2, C3. We've had the choice as an organization on what to enforce. We're no longer able to enforce C3. So now we're going to enforce C2. This is a policy that aligns with the LPGA's policy. We feel the LPGA has had this in place for about 14 years and it's stood the test of time. I'm not sure what will happen. It's not, as we've said, in the past, through the experience of, getting, initial studies, getting initial feedback, you're really trying to understand, medical science around this topic. We followed what we feel is the clear best policy to ensure competitive fairness, which underpins the disc golf pro tour and any pro sport, right? So that said, if the policy at the PDGA level has changed, we're going to continue to do, what we've said we would do in the past. I think the United Series, that was what our hope was. If we were able to implement the United Series, we would be implementing the United Series. But, I think I understand the PDGA's decision. We certainly dissented, but it makes sense to understand, where this will go in the coming years. There's going to be bigger courts and bigger sports that figure this out. And I think the main takeaway from last year is that it's going to be challenging to continue growth of disc golf at the professional level, with the burden of continuing lawsuits. So, I think that, while, there will continue to be development, I'm sure, in this area internationally, for the time being, I understand where the PDGA went with their decision. And I don't anticipate this, being a major topic for the next couple of years. which I think hopefully will be a relief to fans, and a relief to players, in some ways. And I think that, we're obviously still taking feedback from our players. I know that a majority of our players have a level of frustration, but, at the same time, I think that the concept of the United Series is that we need to come together. We need to continue to push forward with the sport, continue to grow. I think that at a core level, my message is always and will always be that, we need to treat each other well, regardless, of, this topic and whether people agree or disagree with the policies around it. We just need to recognize that, the humanity in everyone and be kind. And, I think that that's our intent, for the next few years, is to operate within the PDGA policy as they laid it out, to really focus on the development of the pro game, to be kind and create a welcoming community for everyone, all fans, all players. And, I think that that's how the kind of board is set right now. And that's what I expect for the next 2 years, is to focus on disc golf, the professional growth of the game, and just, making sure everyone's feeling respected.
Of course, that whole set of lawsuits put a lot of financial pressure on the tour last year. As far as I understand, the Pro Tour did not turn a profit last year. I know that was a goal starting out in 2023. Where do you look? I feel like we ask you this every year, so we might as well continue the tradition. Where do you look at this year in terms of profit and loss look ahead?
Well, every year we have certain growth initiatives that we fund and invest. And regardless of the year, even if we turn a profit, all of that is going back into development of our employee base, that's going to be able to serve the players and serve the TDs and serve the fans better. So, regardless of whether or not we turn an operational profit, there is investment in growth initiatives that's going to take that profit and put it right back into the sport. We spend, a lot of money every year, even funding Edge and Uplay in some of their initiatives related to the tour as well. And if we had more profit, more would go to growth of the game, educational disc golf, that kind of stuff. So what I can tell you is that our revenues grew, beyond projection. Our revenues, continue to grow at a high clip, which is going to allow us to do more. So, and I know we've had these discussions around, profitability. What I can say is that, financially, we're doing, exactly what we should be doing, is how our board of directors feels, and that we're, on our way to, continued growth, continued revenue, continued expansion of the business. And I think you see that in what we're doing. While there were challenges that were threatening, I think, our ability to continue to grow, we're not going to let any of those challenges, stop growth. So, you take it to a certain point where you need to take a different path, and I don't think we ever went past the path where we could continue to grow, whether it's, DGPT Europe or, transitioning to DGPT 2.0 and making an investment in building out, better functionality, for DGN users. I just can't wait to roll out the live DVR and allow people to just rewind, pause it. Even me, obviously, I'm a huge fan. I'm watching a lot of the time if I'm not on site, or even if I'm on site, sometimes I have to monitor something. Being able to pause it or rewind it or see, what just happened, that functionality coming to DGN, and that's for all tiers, right? That's for basic, which is, a new tier as well. That's for all the tiers. So we're excited about that. And, that's the type of growth that we're going to be able to continue to fuel. And so in terms of profitability, if we're profitable operationally, that money goes back in. The growth initiatives aren't dependent, on that. And we're seeing great revenue growth. So, financially and in terms of growth, I feel that the tour is in, a great spot, and we feel, encouraged that, even in a year, as we talked about earlier, where, there are sectors in the industry that are dealing with plateaus, that we saw growth, whether it's on site or online, to our core products and to our brands. So, cautiously optimistic that, that growth picks back up this year, and returns to the normal level. Yeah, sorry about my dog.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So one thing I wanted to follow up on, you talked earlier about regional balancing of tournaments. And I'm curious if you think the Tour Championship needs kind of a rethink, because it seems to me that that tournament is being a little bit cannibalized by USDGC with just not really drawing the same kind of fans that you would expect for this, champion crowning event with the big payouts and everything else. And I know you're not necessarily at your preferred course right now in Charlotte. How do you look at that tournament and where it fits into the calendar?
Yeah, let me start by saying, like, the Charlotte disc golf community is fantastic. I mean, I think it is the biggest disc golf community in the world. I look at it as a one-off, and I don't look at it as a big negative either, because when we were running at Nevin, Matt Keats Memorial Disc Golf Course in 2022, it was a change where Hornets Nest wasn't available. We had worked with the city, and there was just a big restriction on the amount of tickets we could sell. So we sold out, right? We sold out of tickets in 2022. Great crowd, great finish. And then we had the ability to do a different format, which opened up a lot more space. Well, in 2022, I think that the wooded nature of Nevin and the small amount of tickets we were able to sell, maybe had an effect on 2023. And so now that we've been able to open up a lot more space, open up a lot more, Mark Huther, the director of operations of the Charlotte Disc Golf Club, is our key, LOC leader on the ground, and LOC stands for Local Organizing Committee. So, he did a great job creating, probably acres more of spectating space than we had the year before. But I think it's going to take a year to catch up, because in the past we've had some of our biggest, best crowds in Charlotte. So I'm looking at a 4-year history before that one event where could we have had more people there? Sure. We could have, but we had over 1,000 people on site, on the weekend days. And, we had just a lot more room. People were spread out a lot more. So, I understand that, it was maybe a little bit off last year. But we're excited to be back there. This will be our third year, just like we had 3 years at Hornets Nest. So this will be our third year at Nevin this year. And we have a lot of love, faith, belief in the Charlotte disc golf community. A lot of them will, obviously we work with Jonathan Poole and the USDGC, and they've done a great job, over the years, delivering a fantastic spectator experience. I had a concert series, a ton of vendors. I think people should go to both. I think that we'll look at the results this year. We are, thinking now about what course and what opportunities we have for 2025. 2025 is going to be our 10-year anniversary. So I would expect us to pull out the stops, because I think it's just, from, 2015, when I started talking about this with Steve Dodge, to him launching the tour and being, the first TD of the Tour Championship after the GMC. I just can't even believe that next year is going to be the 10th year of the tour. And we're excited to celebrate. So we're already planning. I'm deep in 2025 right now. And, I'm really excited that 2025 is the 10-year anniversary. And, we're going to pull out the stop. So we're looking at the Tour Championship location and what we're going to do and how we're going to frame it up with media and, courses. And, I think that we're certainly thoughtful about developing that event to the next level. I don't know that you can base everything off of, just 1 year. I think there are clear factors. So try not to overreact, but we also had, great ticket sales and were successful in the event. We delivered the biggest purse of all time. At a PDGA event, I think $326,000. So yeah, there's a lot of successes, and I understand where you guys are coming from with the question.
Are you a chess guy?
I do like chess. I like it even more now. But yeah, chess.com invitational is a great way to kick off the season, and shout out to Paul McBeth Foundation and Paul's team at, landing that as a title sponsor. We hope to, develop that relationship with the tour. And, I know that you guys were able to sit down with them and get some more info, but no, I mean, incredible platform. So many users, such a great crossover. I definitely have been sharpening my skills since the announcement, and I'm sure that a lot of the disc golf community is like, okay, hey, if you play, you're probably going to play more. And I've checked out chess.com, enjoy playing on the site as well. So it's pretty awesome. We also have another title sponsor announcement coming soon that's going to be exciting. I'm not going to drop it here, but just keep your eyes out. I'm sure you guys will want to report on it.
It's for the overall season for the tour or for a specific event?
I'm talking for a specific event, but you never know on the overall announcement too. So I'm gonna defer to my marketing and comms team, but no, we're excited about this year. We feel like we're gaining momentum in non-endemic partnerships. Obviously, landing LL Bean for Worlds last year, and having record crowds, and just the overall, probably the best event that I've ever been the TV of was a great moment to show other non-endemic sponsors, right? And I very thankful to LL Bean, and we're excited for them to return in 2024. But just working on finalizing stuff there.
All right, last question, and thanks so much for giving us time. And I know we're already over the time limit here. You got somewhere to be, but last one. What's on your wish list for the Pro Tour in, let's say, the next 3 to 5 years? Are there a couple of things that you really want to have for the tour, whether that be technological, event-based, whatever it may be?
Yeah, well, first of all, where I got to go is a flight to New York City and then down to Orlando, so I can get down to All Stars. And hopefully I won't be waylaid.
Good luck getting through New York.
Right, yeah. There's some snow down there, so we'll see what time I get in. But no, I mean, my wish list centers on our core mission, which is, building that stage on site and online. So I think that this new era of DGN actually will open some doors. I've been able to meet with the PGA Tour a number of times, who are clients of AWS, and AWS is then opening other partnership doors, with some of they're very invested in sports and sports leagues. So, very excited to kind of pursue those, and in terms of how that could affect things, venue development, opening the doors. I guess one of the things I'd love to do within 5 years is put at least an exhibition on a PGA Tour course, either before or after an event, and really understand how we can build to that level of infrastructure. So, I think that's certainly possibly in the cards. We're going to be hopefully growing our celebrity pro-ams, and that will be a good, marketing tool for us to, get more reach from, some of the biggest, influencers that have big followings that want to show their followings and their fans disc golf. And, just venue development in general. I want to put, 2 or 3, venues of the future on tour in the next 5 years, where we can hold 10,000 people on site. Because right now, if you ask any of our venues, can you take 10,000 people a day? I don't think you get a yes. And I think we need to take that next step forward. So whether it's in collaboration or DGPT driven, we certainly want to deliver that next level venue, and do it thoughtfully. I'm from Vermont, Brewster Ridge is my, first love of design, and, it's a highly ranked wooded course. So, woods are very important, in finding that balance. I know that this is an often discussed topic of, woods versus spectators. And I think we can do both. So the venue of the future would be able to kind of, really inhabit the core, grassroots disc golf, feel and vibe, but also be able to deliver huge crowds. So And then, online, that's the other focus, is just push, our media. I think we're really in a great position with our media, having the media rights that we have, having the partnerships that we have developing. I want to distribute our media like 20 times what we're doing now. I think our core product is always going to be DGN, or at least for the foreseeable future, as far as I can see, and Jomez Pro. So we're going to have free content of our, next day of our core event. We're going to have live content for the subscribership, but, we have so much content that we can push out, whether it's historical content or VOD content or, made for live content. I just believe that we're going to have some select live events distributed very broadly. I believe that, we need to just get content out in 20 times the people able to see it, even if it's for free, and I know that Jomez is a way to do that and YouTube is a way to do that, but we're finding more avenues to distribute media where there are a lot of eyes. And that's what, the next 5 years is going to be about, is building those venues, and also, just pushing it in front of as many people as possible. And I think what that does is just, grow the pie for everybody, whether it's our partners endemically, whether it's the players or the LOCs, the event teams on the ground. Those are our constituents. Those are our stakeholders. And, we feel motivated to be the next pandemic boom. That's what we believe we can be. We don't want to do it with something as awful as the pandemic. We want to do it with, our ability to make inroads and distribute our media and prepare great experiences on site and let the players shine. I mean, it all comes back to just incredible athletes doing their thing out on like compelling courses. And that's what we're going to keep doing. So.
Well, Jeff, thanks so much. Safe travels today, and we're certainly excited for the season. So appreciate you giving us some time, and we'll see you out there soon.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a good one, guys.
Jeff Spring with us here on the Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. I didn't mention this in the open. Just want to apologize for my kind of crummy audio quality. I actually, Josh, I brought my travel microphone. It's a nice microphone.
Yeah.
However, it has a USB-A end, and my computer only has USB-C ports, and I just totally forgot about that. So instead, it's AirPods today.
I will say, Charlie, while that is a nice mic, that mic picks up everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so
You'd hear the birds,
that would be like, this would be an ASMR Ulti World video.
So a very interesting, and I feel like invigorating interview with Jeff Spring, who was in great spirits. I mean, he's obviously always just an excellent PR person for the tour. It's part of his job. But, I've come away feeling more positively about how things are going to go this year for the tour than I did coming in.
Yeah, I did it as well. I think there's a couple things that to me are really reassuring and answer some of the biggest questions that I had about some of these technological changes. Number one, the fact that the PDGA was already developing this platform for majors and had been in this process for a while.
I believe that was not reported at anywhere else before this.
I don't think so either, because that gives me so much more comfort that it's not just like as of November, the PDGA is like, oh yeah, we're going to develop this app. Like this will work.
It's part of the long-standing PDGA moving away from UDisc tradition. I mean, that they used to get UDisc free with the PDGA membership, and then they were like, we out.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big thing to me. The fact that the Disc Golf Pro Tour was one who organized the volunteers, I know UDisc always advertised it on their social media. And so I think I erroneously assumed that UDisc was the one that was organizing those volunteers, finding the volunteers in order to do the stat keeping. And so the fact that the Pro Tour already is the infrastructure and the one that takes care of it, I think is just a huge deal.
I think it's a little bit of column A, little bit of column B.
Okay.
I know you just did a lot of back end work to make sure that things were taken care of, and they often had their own people at the biggest tournaments running the top cards. So
that is true.
Just to note that.
Right. But I think that you can, as the Pro Tour, do that same thing, right? You can put Disc Golf Pro Tour employees to run your top cards, and then the volunteer base below probably is going to be similar. And then the third thing is with Jeff describing, it's interesting, the description of the different tiers underneath Disc Golf Network and the things that they're going to be able to do just already gives me so much more confidence in their streaming platform over Vimeo, above and beyond just the DVR, the ability to pause and play, the ability, if I have something on Saturday and I can't watch the round, that I can jump in and start from the beginning whenever I'm ready, and I don't have to wait for a live broadcast to update. Like, this is amazing. And for him to be able to describe the lengths of which, like, they can accomplish different things now with this new streaming platform, a lot of questions answered for me about these new technologies.
Yeah, I mean, Vimeo is just an absolute dinosaur. I mean, what a joke that they couldn't develop that by this time in 2023. Like, it's just embarrassing, to be honest. Like, they acquired livestream.com a few years back, maybe 2017, and I think they're basically just using that legacy tech. And so they, like, this is not like live DVR and 1080 60 frames, and like these things, these are industry standard things that we haven't had. It's like, not like this is some gigantic breakthrough, but I mean, it's going to feel like it because we didn't have that. Right. Like, not being able to pause and rewind was just horrendous last year. And I think, how many people are choosing to sign up now that they have that versus before? I mean, it's probably a marginal thing, but it just improves the quality of life in a lot of ways, and it's going to, it will be people will sign up more easily. People will be retained more easily. I do think we should talk a little bit more about these, the tiers and such. Cause I mean, this news is just coming out today. So basically we got into this, but not super specifically during the interview, but so they have DGN Basic, which is kind of the thing that you were getting for free if you're a PDGA member, and you still get it for free if you're a PDGA member. So it's like, you're going to get the PDGA majors. I don't know if it lays out ever exactly the same thing. It says DGN Basic will include full access to the same select events for which PDGA members have been given free viewing for the past 2 seasons. Okay. You can also subscribe to that directly for $6 a month. Then there's DGN Standard, which is $12.99 a month or $6 a month with a PDGA discount. Or there's DGN Pro, which is $20 a month or $13 a month with the PDGA discount. You also can get yearly discounts now if you have a PDGA membership, which I believe is new.
Love that.
For 2024. Yeah. So Jeff basically laid out like why you would want to get Pro. Like, you get post-game coverage, you get European Open and USDGC, and then like second stream type stuff. I'm curious about that. Who do you think they're going to put in there? German Sexton.
That was my. That's got to be the one, right? It's got to be. Yeah, I think this Brody? Is the avenue. Brody.
I mean,
but Brody's still playing.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but Germans. I mean, we just had a conversation about that in the mailbag episode. Like, I think German Sexton are just very realistic. Like, this is their avenue to being both Jomez and doing live coverage, and really gives them the opportunity to make that transition if they want. And the best part about it is that the back stream, you don't have to advertise it as like the big Germ stream. You just advertise it as the alternate stream, and then when Big Germ and Sexton want to play, you bring in different guests,
right?
And so this is their soft opportunity. Sexton already does it this way, but Germ now, this gives him a little bit of an opportunity to begin doing some coverage in place of certain events. Yeah. And I think that's something that Germ will probably take advantage of if he is truly on the side.
I personally find those alternate streams, like Manningcast and stuff, just totally unwatchable. Like, I cannot stand them. I mean, I like to watch the little clips they put up on social media, but like sitting there with just like random banter for like 3 hours is just horrendous to me. But you know what? Much. There's probably an audience for it, which is why they're doing it on ESPN. And I'm sure that some people will choose that option on DGN.
Yeah, I'm sure. And here's the other thing is like, I like this idea. Number one, I think they get the opportunity to try out other commentators and get community feedback on some different commentators. And you know, when I compare Manning cast to the traditional NFL broadcast, which actually I'll come back to that real quick on the Super Bowl, because there's something I want to highlight there. When I compare Manning cast to a traditional NFL broadcast, it's very, you know, stark in terms of both the feel, but also, I mean, the quality of the traditional NFL broadcast is just so good. It's such a good product. We're not there yet in DGN, and there's a chance that alternate commentary and alternate stream based on who they bring in might be my preference. And that's something that I am TBD and will definitely be checking out, because I have a big question. Have you seen on the Super Bowl, sorry to come back to this, this is noteworthy though for commentary, all the criticism that Tony Romo got, because Jim Nantz, after they score the touchdown, says jackpot Kansas City, and then Tony Romo's like, let's pull up the replay, and like starts drawing on it, and Tony Romo is getting destroyed for not letting the moment breathe.
I'm like no number one Tony Romo hater, maybe. I think he's incredibly overrated, and I felt like he just steps all over the broadcast all the time, and that was I was screaming at the obviously my team just lost, so I'm not in a great emotional state, but I'm screaming at the television for Tony to shut up, like multiple times in the second half, especially towards the end of the game. But it was just horrendous at the end of the game there. Like, dude, you can take us through the replay in 2 minutes. Just wait a second. Just stop. We don't need you to do the X's and O's right now. They just won the Super Bowl. The season is over. Like, just let the crowd cheer, and let's see the shots of the players, and let's hear the sounds of the sidelines. And we don't need to hear from you right now. Anyway, that's just personal thing. I mean, to me, it's incredibly amateurish for that to have happened. I'm shocked the producers weren't in his ear saying, Tony, shut up, lay out.
Shut up.
It was really bad. It was really bad.
Yeah.
I think he's terrible. I mean, give me Collinsworth any day of the week.
The Athletic says on the Super Bowl's biggest play, Tony Romo freelanced and lost. USA Today, Tony Romo may have ruined the Super Bowl broadcast.
Oh my God. He's very polarizing. I mean, some people really like the style of him kind of chiming in all the time, but I could barely hear the commentary during my Super Bowl party, so I don't really have a ton of comments except for the end of the game.
Sure. Anyway, sorry, that was a side note when we were talking about commentary.
So, you know, I think this structure for the DGN pricing makes a lot of sense to me. I think having that higher tier to like more effectively monetize your sort of bonus content is wise. And, you know, I think there were a lot of questions given the earlier announcements about what exactly was going to happen with the European Open and USDGC, which are these sort of carve outs every year, because those events control their own media rights. So the tour is paying a big fee to be able to broadcast those tournaments. And so, you know, now we have the answer. And it's not like you can really complain too much about the pricing, right? I mean, especially if you're a PDGA member, you know, $140 for a year of the highest tier platform. And you can always just upgrade to it only to watch those tournaments for European Open and USDGC. It's not an onerous cost. I feel like it could have been priced higher.
I think, I don't know if I agree that it could have been priced higher. I think they got it right. Like this, because if I had looked at more than $140 with my discount, I might have, that was like, if I'd seen 150, I probably would do 10 months of DGN standard and then upgrade during the 2 months for the majors.
But you feel like they came in at the right price for you to go ahead and just pull the trigger on the high plan?
They did. But like the top of my threshold of what I would have done.
Sure.
Any higher, and I would have gone and just done the monthly with 2 months of pro. But I am intrigued enough. And here's the other thing, though. There is enough of a cost difference to me that if if this like alternate broadcast, if the post game shows, if all the other stuff doesn't do it for me and isn't that good, in my opinion, I will be downgrading next year.
Yeah, they got to sell it to you.
They do have to add $140. They've got to sell it to me.
Because you could pay. I mean, let's do the math, right? If you want to have it the whole season, right? You pay $70 for a year of standard, assuming you're a PDGA member.
Correct.
And then I guess you could just pay an extra. I don't exactly know how it would work if you're on an annual plan. Can you go up for a month? I don't know.
Here's the hack for everybody, because I was thinking about that. I know you can't, because I've looked at it before and played around with it from last season. So you would have to be on the month-to-month on DGN Standard and then do 2 months of DGN Pro. Secret trick to doing it though, try doing an annual of the DGN Standard, and that'll give you 2 months free, and then just subscribe to DGN Pro separately on a different account.
Like get a different email. Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, get a different email, and then it would honestly come out to pretty close to the same.
Yeah, you do the math.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a way that I think you could do it if you wanted to just go with the annual. If that does end up saving you the money, but actually it might not, because the 2 months free. Yeah. Anyway,
I think the structure makes sense to me. The pricing feels very reasonable. Like, cannot complain. Like, if you're a PDGA member, especially, like, it's just like $6 a month for basically all of the main tournaments except the two.
Yep.
It's just not. It's not very much money. Like, it's cheaper than it should be. But
yeah,
they give themselves room to push the prices up in the future. But yeah, I think I'm excited to see how this all rolls out. Jeff certainly set expectation bar like kind of low in terms of like the platform for stats and the broadcast and all the rollout. Yeah. And that's probably the right thing to do, because there's obviously a track record of technical problems. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, and he also highlights not even just the technical side, but like this probably isn't going to look as good as UDisc did.
Yeah, he basically said that, right?
That's what he said.
Are you surprised?
That's what we all thought.
I mean, I think that was just, to me, I don't really care if it's functional and they can improve on some of the statistics keeping, and I can like still sort and by stat categories and things like that. I'll be happy. I mean, as long as it works. But I do think, it's interesting to me that he said that they were close to making a deal with UDisc just for the DGPT, but that the PDGA side of it was a sticking point. I did not hear that from UDisc, that was like the conversation. So
it doesn't.
It's interesting that like there's not a ton of communication there, I don't think, between those parties.
It doesn't fully make sense to me why UDisc would go, oh, we can't have the majors, then we're done. Because the Pro Tour was paying UDisc.
Yeah, like,
so if the Pro Tour's
right,
like if you're UDisc, you just say, okay, great, we don't have the majors. Here's what our cost is going to be. Like, and maybe
or they just put the majors up on their page and scores only with no stats or something.
Sure,
it's not like you're not allowed to put the scores up. Weird.
Yeah, that was. Didn't.
I don't know if it all adds up for me either, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And maybe it's a combination of, right? Like, maybe you just said, so. Great, we won't do the majors, but the cost of running this is going to stay the same. Like, it doesn't decrease our cost because we don't do 4 of the 24 events. So we're not changing our price. And the Pro Tour said, well, we're not going to do both at that price. And that's where it started to devolve. But I'm sure that was part of the conversation, but I don't buy that UDisc walked away from the table when they found out they couldn't have the majors.
I just haven't heard that. I haven't heard that. So we'll try to get some more info on exactly what went down there. I think it's more about price and like data ownership. I think broadly what Jeff said sounds right to me, which is like, we want to control the API. And, I think that wasn't really in the cards without paying huge fees, I'm sure, to have that control. And I also think it's true that UDisc is just focused on a different thing. Like the core product is just completely separate from what they were doing for UDisc Live. So anyway, interesting overall discussion. Curious to hear, right, that 50% DGN growth, 25% growth in spectatorship. Those are better numbers than I thought.
Me too. That's pretty impressive, given as Jeff pointed out, the industry standards around them in terms of sales and other avenues and like areas of merchandising. Like, for them to continue to increase at that number is remarkable.
All right, well, that is going to do it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. Give us your thoughts on what you heard from Jeff or on the new DGN pricing structure and all the things that they're rolling out. Shoot us an email, upshot@ultiworld.com. And even better, become a subscriber. Join us in the Discord. It's the best place to be. We took subscriber questions for this interview today, and you can ask your questions and get them into future shows. Go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe to join the Discord, get our bonus Inside the Circle segments, live reacts coming very soon as we get ready for the All-Star weekend. We got some fun stuff coming up, including fantasy draft. Of course, we're going to get you ready for the All-Star event and some really cool interviews coming your way as well. So looking forward to getting you all ready for the start of the season. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next time right here on The Upshot.